Stream of Gaming, a weekly podcast on gaming, film, music, and pop culture from an artist's perspective. As always, if you'd like to support the podcast, please visit patreon.com/streamofgaming. The more help we can get, the more platforms we can publish in, the more content we can bring to you. We are coming to you right now from either YouTube or SoundCloud or iTunes, and hopefully more in the future. So please I can't believe I actually said that. Please click the like button or subscribe. That always helps.
Drop a like.
Yeah, drop a like.
No, you drop a like.
What's up, What's up? It's your boy. I'm 30 years old. Why am I saying these words?
Drop a like on the floor.
Yes. As always, I'm Brent.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm Marcus.
And we have a bit of a more freeform. Well, it's always freeform here. That's kind of what we do. But we have even less form than we usually do.
Beautiful.
Let's start out though, because we have been moving away from what you've been playing because we've had more of a topic focused thing going on. But in the absence of like a huge topic to discuss, let's just kind of get into it with what we've been playing. So why don't we start off? Kyle, you've been playing some fun things recently. What's going on with you?
I have. I'm divvying up my time between some Switch stuff and some Xbox stuff.
So you're switching off your time?
Aha!
Don't applaud me for that one. That was awful.
Input Switch sound here. Little like. So on Switch, I've been playing Octopath Traveler, which is a load of fun. It's just I don't know. I haven't gotten into it enough to really talk too much about it. Pretty much, it's a JRPG that's just looks beautiful. The sound design is amazing, and I'm not even into most of the story. There's 8 independent stories that kind of just happen, and along the way, you pick up one of the 8, like all of the 8 travelers, and then you can kind of switch up your team from there. And so right now I have 3 party members, and I just got to a town where I'm going to pick up a 4th party member. But each party member has their own story. It's not like there's like one big overarching enemy. It's not like a Final Fantasy game. It's not it's not like a Dragon Quest game or something like that where you're picking up party members and then there's an overarching enemy. This is like the first guy I decided to play as was a scholar, and so his end game is like trying to do research and find this lost book that was gone for like 15 years or something like that. And then I picked up a cleric, and she's doing her own thing. And then I picked up a huntress, and she's doing her own thing. And so I'm picking up all these different people, and they all have different weapons and skills, and it's a lot of fun. The fight mechanics are interesting because each enemy has a break meter, and certain attacks will hurt that break meter or not hurt that break meter. And so you're emphasized to try to break it down, because if you do, the next turn, the enemy doesn't get to attack. And so there's kinds of these balancing acts of like, okay, do I use physical attacks because it's going to break? Or do I use like my special attacks because it'll do more damage, but it might not do the break, so there's all sorts of different things. But the music's beautiful. The art design is really kind of interesting because it's 2D sprites, but like in this like 3-dimensional plane. It's pretty sweet. If you haven't seen Octopath Traveler stuff, you should.
Yeah, Digital Foundry, a YouTube channel, they do a lot of tech analysis. They're like, yeah, this is really interesting because this is Unreal 4. And this game is like, what if the artist that made Final Fantasy VI or before that had access to that kind of technology?
True.
But didn't want to go full 3D, because there's like everything is rendered flat, but it's all presented in a 3D plane.
It's almost like if you put on 3D glasses in a movie. Yeah. Like it's not like things are jumping out at you. It's just kind of like creating a space that you're in. And it's really cool when you go through doors. because it's like the outside world kind of fades away and then it like zooms into this new world. It's the new area. It's pretty cool. But yeah, it's an Unreal 4, which is ridiculous. And in a segue of interesting visual styles, the other game I'm playing is also an interesting visual style, and I'm playing No Man's Sky, which has been around since 2016. So people should know about this game.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't, it's a game where they drop you on a planet, you gather resources, you go to other planets. End game.
Well, the reason a lot of people might not know about it, which is probably a good thing to touch on, is it was supposed to be this huge, like, big explorer that you could beat up with other people, but
yeah,
it failed.
Well,
yeah,
so hard.
They got the huge part down. It was more the rest of it.
It's ridiculous because when you load in the game, it zooms past all these other planets, and if you tilt your camera, you can see what other people have named, and it's so infrequently that you see names because there's so much. But yeah, they added called Next, which got added to the PlayStation 4 versions, but a part of that became the Xbox One version came out. And so I've been playing that, and I'm getting through it, which is nice. And I mean, it's nice to have all these extra things. I just gotta take some more time, but I'm getting the hang of it. Kind of just knowing what resources to collect when, depending on keeping stasis elements involved, and keeping your oxygen levels up, and not repairing at this point, but keeping your ship fueled, because there's a different fuel from getting around versus getting off the ground. So like sometimes I'll like pick up my ship, go somewhere, like I'm like, oh cool, there's stuff down there. I'll land, and then I'll be like, oh shit, I don't have any fuel to get back up in the air. Let me find some stuff to do that. So there's a lot of stuff kind of like that. But I don't know if this was in the original, but it's nice because they added this where it was by like the third area or so, you have a event encounter where you protect this frigate, and in return the guys are like, hey, you protected us, it's your frigate now. So I have this like giant ship in space that I can send to do things, or I can land my ship on, and it's a mobile base, which is just pretty badass. So I can't wait for that. And apparently, like if you gain enough money, you can actually you can command multiple frigates. So essentially, you're creating your own fleet. It's pretty great.
See, No Man's Sky interested me when it was first talked about, because it sounded like this really cool concept.
Yeah.
And like we said, it fell so hard and so flat that it got like so bad that people were getting refunds left and right, and it had like the worst reviews on Steam ever.
Yeah.
There was a lot
I've been hearing a little bit about the
expectations.
update too, and some people seem to have very mixed feelings on it. I know one streamer I watch every so often on Twitch, Ammunition, she didn't care for it.
Mm-hmm.
She gave it a try, but it just wasn't for her.
Yeah.
But I've seen other people on Twitter at least kind of going, yeah, this is actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, I saw a video recently that Alana Pierce, who was a writer on IGN until recent, she had very negative feelings about the game initially when it came out on PS4, and she tried it like these other streamers are doing with the update, and she said it went from being possibly a game that she would never play again, probably one of the worst games she'd ever played that she thought, all the way to this could be one of the top 10 games of the year. That was just her opinion. And I'm like, wow, I mean, as someone who plays a lot of games, that is really impressive. And so, I mean, that's, part of the reason why I, come back in I despite all of the negative things, I thought it was still going to be a great game to play when I felt like that kind of game. When I felt like, you know what, I just want to get away from what's going on right now in my life. I just want to, walk around a rock in space, you know, get some materials, get on a ship and go and just fly and go somewhere else. Like, if you're into that kind of game, this is perfect. If you're into like heavily story driven narrative stuff, it's not that kind of game. It really isn't.
Now, my big question with that is, why wasn't it released like this in the first place?
Okay, so there's a lot.
I don't think
to
they had the
dive
money.
into.
I think Hello Games did not have the money to make it this way, and so in some ways, I think they lied to get hype, to get people to purchase it, so they could do this. Because now, after this update, I mean, it's a free update. After this, there's apparently going to be weekly updates for the foreseeable future for free.
Well, because the director of Hello Games, Sean Murray, he is, as a person, like, he's very much like us. He's like full on nerd. He's very enthusiastic, but he's not really a pitch man. He's not a marketing guy. And because he was in this company that's like literally 12 or 20 people, that became his job. And he did what a lot of people that are passionate do, is they sort of turn into Peter Molyneux, where they super overpromise based on their grand vision. And so he promised all these things, like, oh yeah, this is going to be multiplayer, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, it's going to be base building, and all of that. And he never clarified, we're not going to have that day one. He said it will be there, and gave no other information in a lot of interviews, including on some late night talk shows. And so when it came out, everyone, like, if you mention No Man's Sky anywhere on YouTube, like, there's some idiot in the comments who's always like, oh, No Man's Lie, because everyone's talking about how he lied, when it's like, well, he didn't really know what he was doing. He didn't know, and they didn't really anticipate that it would need to become a game as a service in order to do all they wanted to do. So it shipped incomplete, and there were problems. There was a video going around on YouTube for a little while of, like, oh, here they showed this clip from the original trailer with this great music, and then someone did like a sad trumpet version of that same theme with like an actual animal that was seen in game that just looks just really misshapen and just wrong.
Yeah, there are some interesting animals that get, because everything's just kind of like randomized. So like, the animals are really odd, but I've run into essentially a lot of the same types of animals, a lot of deer type shaped animals that might have different traits, or the occasional dinosaur, like larger dinosaur looking kind of animal. The other thing that's really, I wish they had some control of, but it's, it's the game that it is that the first planet you are on should be relatively
interesting.
No, not even interesting. Relatively, safe to walk around on.
A little more forgiving.
A little bit more forgiving for the first one. That was like my only death, was because I had no idea what the game was doing, which is really actually kind of great, especially, in an era here where there's a lot of hand holding in games. There was not either that or I wasn't paying attention to the directions. But the planet that I started on had a lot of radioactivity. So like, I'm just like, man, this gauge keeps going down. I wonder how I fix this. And then I died, and I'm like, well, okay. And then I finally figured it out that, I didn't find out what I was supposed to do. Instead, what I did was like, oh, look, my ship. And I got inside, and then my stability went back up. And I'm like, okay, I can't go far from my ship, because if I go too far, I will probably die. So and then eventually I find out that all the stabilization of my suit is based on sodium. And so I had to do is mine some sodium, and then I can go for longer distances away from my ship. And keep going. Yeah, but there's some interesting stuff like that. There's a lot of planets I've gone on. This is really great. There's like a large planet that is an ice planet, and it gets so cold that you have to, you have to either go underground or you have to keep refreshing your suit. And then there's a moon to this planet, like not very far away, that has scalding hot rain. Logic,
boy.
this makes none. Which is really, I think is really great. But it's just a fun, silly game, and I love too that you can go between first person and third person now. Because in third person the game is just it's kind of silly, and it's lovely, and it's good to like be like games are silly and fun sometimes. Yeah, that was a long talk about like 2 games I'm playing mostly. I'm playing some other stuff, but
both of those games have received a lot of hype lately. When Octopath was in development, that was a very talked about game.
Yeah,
and
well,
No Man's
mostly
Sky has been just talk for a while because of what happened when it came out, and now that it's coming back, I'm wondering with No Man's Sky if they would have done some things initially upon its release if they had the funds for it.
Mm-hmm.
They'd probably be making some more money and using what they are rolling out now as DLC.
Yeah,
but
I don't know what the DLC would be like. More ships and like missions and things, because they do not need more space. There is plenty of space.
Yeah.
Well, with how games have been lately, you can't put it past some places or some games to have that in there. But for what their failure initially upon when it came out to now, we're thankful that they're doing everything that they're doing at no additional cost.
I think most surprisingly for me about like Octopath Traveler is the name, because when they first showed it, like they showed the first trailer for that, I think all the way back when
like
they
E3
announced
last
the Switch,
year or something like
back
that.
in like what was like January of 2015 or 2016 or something like that, 2016. And when I was just like, whoa, this is cool. This game looks beautiful. Like, what is this game? Like, this is awesome. And they're like, yeah, it's called Octopath Traveler, but we're not sure if we're going to call it that. And then like it kept on going and going and going. And they're like, we couldn't come up with any other name for it. That's what it's going to be.
We praise you. It's actually the name.
Yeah, whoa! Because that's the only thing that makes sense. Like I said, there's 8 independent stories, and there's 8 characters that you can pick up as a part of your party. So, and you can make any of them lead, and you can make it's just like a build your own. It's like make your own adventure RPG that you could pick which one you start with. You can pick which ways you go, and anyway.
Well, to sort of bridge the gap between you and Marcus here, I have been playing something that is decidedly not current at all. A month or 2 ago, Assassin's Creed Syndicate was for free on Xbox, on Xbox Live Gold, and not at all uncoincidentally, the season pass was on sale for a mere $10. So I got like the $90 version for basically on pennies on the dollar. So I've been playing that, and I was not prepared for how long this game is.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
I mean, I like Origins. Like my initial playthrough was like 80 hours. I don't know if I'm anywhere near 80 hours. I don't think it's as long as Origins, but for the size of the map, I think I spent almost 50 hours just on like side quests. Mm-hmm. And I just got to like one of the either the last or second to last chapter, and then out of nowhere, you remember how in Unity there was like after each memory sequence there was a section where you'd see Paris from like a different point in its history.
Yeah.
So they did that, but instead of it being between every sequence, there's only one, and it's World War I for London, and it's big. It's not just a one action mission. It's like you go into it, and there's 3 viewpoints, and there's a bunch of different. It's an entire borough essentially.
Wow.
And you're as one of the protagonist's granddaughter. From 19 whatever, and I've just been doing this for like the past 2 hours, and I still have like 6 or 7 submissions within it to do, and you're going out and you're going into different sections, and you're weeding through taking out like spy encampments that are in the middle of London because Germany's trying to bomb everything, and it's great, but there's so much to this. And then after that, I still have like a whole other memory sequence to do. But yeah, I mean, it's buggy.
Yeah.
I mean, Unity was worse, but man,
well, that's why after Syndicate, they kind of were like, okay, pump the brakes. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's figure some stuff out.
Objectively, they pumped the brakes because people didn't buy Syndicate as much because people were just so tired of the same thing and annualized over and over. But Syndicate,
hey, Ubisoft.
I mean, that's what they all do. But
but like seriously though, like Assassin's Creed.
Oh my God, they're doing it again.
They're doing it again with Assassins. But then what was the other game that Ubisoft kept on putting out year after year? Oh man, I just had it.
Is it Watch Dogs had some time?
No,
between.
Watch Dogs. That they think they did right, even though it's in like the same universe. Maybe I'm thinking of another game that's like not like one of the big shooters because those whatever. Not a sports game because those will come out every year. But it was a similar type deal to Assassin's Creed. Far Cry.
They were sort of doing well. What they did is they had
like between
They had 4, and then
3 was where they hit their peak. 4 was pretty good, and then they're like, "Ooh, let's just kind of keep doing the same kind of thing." And then 5 comes out. Not too. I mean, still, it wasn't like a year after. Or no, it was.
They bridged it with Primal, and Primal used literally the exact same map data, but with different trees and animals and stuff.
Yeah, so it's just like, man, guys, like take your time, really develop what you're doing, and then blow us away.
I'll wait and see what people say about Odyssey. But getting back, Syndicate crashes on me like anywhere between 1 and 3 hours, almost like clockwork.
Wow.
I have had they're literally as with most Assassin's Creed games, you go and you have to clear out areas to then like claim the towers or whatever you want, the bases, all that kind of stuff. And I was at literally the last one, and I played it 5 times, and it crashed 5 times right as I got to the end. And I had to go online and was like, what am I doing? And they're like, oh yeah, if you call your syndicate to come and assist you at any point in the mission, it will crash. Like, what?
Great. I can't use the game.
I can't use the game systems to play the game. So I had to find... I mean, it wasn't that hard, thankfully, because I'd over-leveled, of course. But, yeah, and then there's like all these other times where thankfully, this game has a really great save system. Like, I was in the middle of doing... Just an hour or two ago, I had gotten to the end of this section where you were on a boat, and you literally take a flak cannon and you're shooting up at like triplanes up in the sky. And I got to the end, it just went brrr, and I'm like, oh god, I have to do all this crap again. I loaded it back up, and not only, it didn't just, and by the way, when this game crashes, it doesn't just crash the game. It turns the entire console off.
Oh wow!
That's how bad this game crashes.
Doo-doo.
So I'm like, oh man, this is bad. So I'm like, there's no way it saved my data. Like, I'm stuck. I have to do all this over again. So I booted it back up, and sure enough, somehow it literally triggered the exact cutscene that it had crashed in the middle of. So I'm like, okay, I lost nothing somehow. I don't know, like, Ubisoft foresaw how much this game was going to crash, and they're like, you know what, let's just save every 5 seconds, just in case.
Just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know we've got these several game-breaking bugs to it, but we got to ship out this game because it needs to be shipped out, because we've made so many of these now.
Yeah. I do plan on getting, like, I've been playing, basically, apart from Lumines, I've been playing nothing but Xbox for a while, so I think I'm going to be getting either to Octopath or Hollow Knight next. And then I'm probably going to go into
Hollow Knight's a lot of fun.
Odyssey and Celeste and a few other things. I got to get into some Switch stuff because I've been neglecting that. But that's what I've been up to for the recent past. So, getting back into sort of where we're going with the topic, Marcus, what have you been up to?
Not a whole lot, actually. Like, life, as we all know, life kind of gets in the way. So I've actually surprisingly been doing a lot more mobile gaming, just because I'll be at work, I'll be doing something for a little while, and I'll have some downtime, or just before I go to bed. I've been still playing Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and they put out a couple of recent updates and introducing new characters that's kind of got me curious lately. They've rolled out 5 of the Old Republic characters. The first one was Bastila Shah and Jolie Bindo. I'm like, okay, what do you guys have in mind? Because Nihilus and Treya and Scion and Visas from KOTOR 2 have already been in the game. Nihilus has been in the game for a very long time. And now they're starting to roll out some Old Republic characters. And this week they rolled out T3M4, Mission Veo, and Zalbar. So I'm sitting here going, when are we going to get Revan and Malik? Because I would like those very much, please. But it seems like those would be the first ones. That's one of those, lots of farming involved if you don't want to spend any money just to collect all the shards for it and just to get better teams. But at this point, I'm almost at the max level, and I've been playing for so long, so it's getting easier and easier. But outside of that, most of what I've been playing is I've fallen back in love with Ace Academy, mostly because I've been playing through it, and I've not played through it in its entirety really since it was out of early access. So I'm going back and finishing one of the romancing routes to it that I initially started when the game was in early access. So now I'm getting to the point where I've not seen any of this before. So it's starting to keep me wondering of what's really going on and making me really question my decisions of, am I choosing the right thing? Because I had one with how the one attribute I picked up, you could kind of read people. And it usually shows up in a green dialogue option, so you know this is probably something important. And I was reading it because the one character I'm romancing clearly has a thing for another member of your team. But so you make all this progress towards romancing her, but then this option comes up, and it's like, well, you know, she's clearly got feelings for him, so you should help her get over her fear of telling him how she feels. I feel like I just screwed up a little bit, but it's a green option. I can't ignore it. So it's got me guessing very, very much, because now that I'm done with Crystalline, I've got to go back to Pixel Fade's first visual novel and keep going through things, because it's just a whole lot of fun while I sit here and wait for Crystalline to be done before I play it again. I wanted to go through it since they've finished everything and they're starting to add some of the final touches, but why go back and try to find everything where it could be removed or changed ever so slightly? So I want to keep some surprise and go back and see, oh, this is what's changed since I started playing it, X amount of months ago. But otherwise, I've not been doing all that much on my Switch. I haven't been doing all too much on that. Unfortunately, haven't gotten an Octopath Traveler. Kyle was telling me just the other day about the update they did for Mario Kart. And I haven't played Mario Kart in forever.
Yeah.
And my Switch just sits in its dock for the most part. But Kyle and I have actually been playing a lot of Fortnite together.
Fortnite.
And I'm enjoying it a lot more on Switch than I ever did on PC.
Yeah,
so
it's just silliness.
Are both of you playing on Switch?
It's strange.
Are both of you playing on Switch?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I've not updated my PC version of Fortnite in a very long time. I think it was like early season 4 was the last time I played on my PC. And a lot of my reasoning is because I was wondering, why am I really enjoying this so much more on Switch than I did on PC? And I think a lot of it has to do with how things render. Because the Switch has a cap.
Yeah.
Whereas a PC, you can get there are people out there that are playing on something that's capping at 60 frames, where mine could be getting upwards in the 200s.
Yeah,
that's an unfair advantage in my favor because I have a farther render distance.
I thought the Switch was at 30 FPS, and that's not even counting render distance.
Yeah, the render distance is very different on Switch.
The game is just different. There's times where we'll jump out of the party bus and it's like, well, the place we're going to jump, I can't see it. It's
To
not
be fair-
it's not rendering it
You've only
yet.
had that once, and the only other time I've ever experienced a problem like that was when I was playing PUBG, like
Yeah.
real early PUBG, and stuff just wouldn't render. And it's like, okay, I just see colors. There's nothing else rendered in just yet. It's something you're inside the building going, okay, this
Where
is
is
just
everything?
nothing but textures. I need something.
Yeah, the servers haven't been too great recently either, but
You know, they've been doing a lot of good changes though. A lot of keeping things interesting. The meta's always evolving.
Server problems
Yeah.
tend to
Yeah,
happen when
five's
there's
pretty
like a
good.
million or 3 online at one time.
What's that?
I was saying server problems tend to happen when there's like between like 1 and 5 million people online at any given time.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Especially considering it's on all platforms. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's gonna fry things, but that's definitely been,
and
a
then,
lot of fun.
I've been thinking about this recently because a lot of people gave PlayStation the stink for being like, you're not crossplay. Why aren't you crossplay? Like Nintendo can play, like Switch can play with.
It was a little
with
worse
Xbox
than that,
on this,
though.
and I'm like thinking to myself, if I'm playing on Switch, would I, unless I was playing with someone who didn't have it on Switch or didn't have a Switch and were playing on Xbox, if I weren't playing with someone like a friend of mine, why would I play on my Switch against someone on an Xbox when an Xbox can have a large, like a further render distance? They like, if you have an Xbox One X, you can have it in 4K. You can have like these crazy things to like make it better for you. Why would I play against them?
Well, to be fair, when you're playing solos, you only play on same console.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering that with when I was playing on PC, it doesn't switch to cross-platform play unless you go into squads.
Oh, that's much better. That makes more sense because then if you have a bunch of people, that makes the game so much better.
And also,
right.
It wasn't just for Sony. It wasn't just that there wasn't crossplay. It's that if the account you used on a PS4 was ever signed into on any other console or PC, it would not let you even use that account. So if you had purchased stuff, you couldn't, because Sony wanted, because every time you buy something on a console, Epic gets their cut, but then Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo get their cut, and Sony's like, no, you can't use the shit you bought on our console elsewhere. We want money for that, which is really weird because it's like, I paid $2 or $5 for this.
Yeah, you know, like, I mean, but when you think about the grand scheme of things, the amount of people who bought stuff, I somewhat understand, because like it might be only like a handful of cents per person, you know, whatever, or you know, a couple of dollars per person, but like when you add that's a couple million people, you
know. Yeah.
They've made an insane amount of money for something that's
that's why that's why they can keep it. That's why they can keep it free, you know, is because all these people they've made all this money just on the microtransactions. But I think what's also interesting is that because of the Fortnite model of, you know, just having this free to play game that is just like this huge thing, more games are starting that model. So
well, it's been a model for a very long time.
Yeah, I know, but like in terms of console gaming, it's not been as big. Like you have like Warframe, and like that has like a very hit or miss audience. It's a pretty big audience, but it's not nearly as big as the AAA games that are similar to that. But the one that surprised me, and I was telling Marcus about this the other night, is the Overwatch type clone-ish kind of game, Paladins, which started on Xbox, and they were just like trying to you know, do the same thing that Overwatch was doing. Well, it just came out on Switch, and at first you had to pay for it. It was like, I forgot what it was to pay for it, but I think they saw how well Fortnite was doing, and they're like, you know what, it's free. So now you can play Paladins on Switch for free, where if you wanted to play it on Xbox, I'm pretty sure you have to pay.
Yeah, and it's a decent model of, you know, here's a free to play game that's got a lot to it. And but we also have these extra aesthetics. It doesn't change any sort of gameplay. You know, they might have some different animations to it that some people might be able to see a little better, but otherwise, it's just aesthetic. You can buy this if you want.
Yeah, you don't have to though. And they're like, hey, to like get people into it, if you're playing a lot and you level up, you can get currency, or you can get the in-game currency and buy stuff from that stuff you've earned as like a gateway. So they're not just like, okay, if you either have the stuff that you paid for and you earn it, or you don't, or you don't. It's down the line a little bit. I want to do this, that's okay. We're going to throw you some in-game currency down the line a little bit. And if you want to use it then, you can use it. And then maybe that'll make you want to buy the battle pass, and who knows.
I mean, League switched to doing that because that's how they were doing stuff, is they had the skins that you could get by purchasing different currency with real money.
Yeah.
And because you could unlock the champions with a certain in-game currency, but they were only good for unlocking champions. There's this different currency that you had to purchase to unlock skins.
Yeah.
And they've switched now that you still got the in-game currency to it, but the one that you can use to purchase skins, you could still unlock skins by playing the game and getting different chests that unlock things at random.
Yeah.
And then you could disenchant things into this other currency that will help you buy things. So if there's a skin that you just don't like and you have the shard for it, you could just get rid of it and, here's the currency that one was worth. Or here's some amount of currency for it. And maybe not the full amount, but here's some of it that you can use when you get that one, that random one that you actually like. But yeah, I've not been doing all that much with games. Want to get into more, but time is somewhat limited. But I'm really enjoying Ace Academy. It's got a lot of fun stuff. I can't wait when I'm done with this route. I'm gonna go back and find some of the other routes because several of them are very interesting, and I want to get to meet some of the characters and know them a little bit more. Because I've seen the same dialogue option once with a character and a brother, and I really want to see how that plays out. But it always happens to coincide with a pivotal point of, hey, here's a pivotal point in your growing relationship with this girl. Do I go and see how my bro's doing, or do I try to advance this relationship? I think the answer is obvious.
So, both of you have been playing games, Octopath and Fortnite, that no one expected them to get as big as they did. Octopath, I think they were amazed how many people they had playing the beta, the demo, like months ago.
Oh no,
for sure.
Yeah, I think I don't know.
And then there were restocks of physical carts that literally sold out in hours, like earlier this week, for Octopath and Fortnite.
Well, what's also interesting is, you can use, there is a My Nintendo Rewards thing, which is like, it's their old, they used to have Club Nintendo, and you could earn points, and then you could buy physical things with those points by like buying games and taking surveys and doing different things. They've changed their model, and it's a little hit or miss right now. I enjoy using the silver coins, which you can get by like going on their website and playing the Animal Crossing or Mario games on mobile. And you can use those to get like screensavers and stuff, which is really nice. They made one that is, they started doing this with Splatoon, but now I think it's more impressive. They did it with Octopath Traveler. You can buy, or you can use the points to buy printable covers for Octopath that have each of the travelers. So like if you buy the physical game card, you print these out and switch out whatever one you like best, which is really kind of hilarious, because it's just like it's the unless you're displaying it around, or if you went out and had eight games that had the cases, and you didn't want to display those, you could display all of these. So I think it's pretty interesting. In general, I don't know. I guess I never thought it was going to be this big, but at the same time, like I remember seeing the initial stuff back when the Switch release was happening, and everyone was kind of like, "Man, a Square Enix game, like that's going to be great. I can't wait for that to happen." And they kept on waiting and waiting and waiting, and now it's here. And so I just kind of expected it to happen, but.
So between this and Fortnite, like what? Both of like these are very different games. Yeah, they've both been like just totally beyond what anyone's expectations were. Like, what other games have done that, and/or what do you think makes that sort of thing happen?
Well, one that just we were kind of talking about what we wanted to really discuss and how to go on this overall topic. The one thing that instantly jumped out to my mind when you said games that just took off like wildfire, and why? Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yes, I was also thinking that because when I remember you were playing that.
Yeah, and that's one of those. I haven't finished it because it's still got me all 6 ways from effed up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those. That's why it took off. Because most people, like me, when I first started playing visual novels, even before I did, I was like, why would I want to play that weeby type shit? That was my instant response of, why would I want to do this? Why is that fun? There's no action. No one gets hurt. I'm just reading. And you get that reaction, but then it does what it does, and it throws you down this deep, dark rabbit hole out of nowhere. And that's what got people hooked, on top of the fact that it was, free. But
I still don't understand what Doki Doki Literature Club is, and I see stuff about it on Reddit, and I still don't get it. No?
It's just it's meta. It is meta.
I'm trying to think of a way to describe it without really ruining it for you, besides just saying, go on your Steam page, go download DDLC, and play it.
I'm surprised that it isn't on anything else.
What's that?
It's a simple game. Like I mean, mechanically speaking. So
it's very simple.
So I don't get why a game that is as popular as it is hasn't been put on. Like I mean, at least PS4. I can understand. Like there's a lot of games that are visual novels that are on PS4 over in Japan. Why isn't this in the West when it's popular in the West too? I don't get that.
Because with how this game functions, I don't think it would work on console.
No, I don't think it would either.
Like it just have menu selectors?
Will not work.
Okay.
Like I'm on my computer here now, wherever I can find my mouse, because with where I am, Kyle, you know where I am, right?
True. Yes, I do.
Yeah, you do. So I'm gonna see if I can find this here real quick. I should have been prepared, and I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm trying to think of other games, and I'm like, man, this blew up, and was not expecting it to.
So there are, with where I am right now, the entire game has 4 characters that are in it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the Steam apps page in the common files for Doki Doki Literature Club in the characters folder.
Oh no.
There
Don't go in there.
There are 3.
Don't go in there.
And I can tell you, I did not get rid of the 4th one.
I know.
The game did it for me.
Yep.
And it told me it did it for me.
Yep.
It's not in my recycling bin.
Yep. It's just
I looked. It is just gone.
It's just gone.
It sounds so.
It is just it's like
it.
No,
the
it
thing
is it is gone.
Like I mean, okay, the beginning of the game, you're like, oh, this is so cute. Why is this saying like there's content that you would never be like? Why would it be like saying this stuff? And then you keep watching people play it, or you play it yourself, and then it's just like, wait, why is this happening? Why?
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I could find the
Well, and then
there's a log to it.
There's like specific things that happen that, like, man, the people who program this game are just like bonkers geniuses, because there's things like that where the game itself will delete files from the game.
Yeah, I have the traceback file here.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning. I'm sorry, but an uncaught exception occurred. While running game code, it goes through it, looking for the script. Restart topic context. Oh geez, ... I didn't break anything, did I? Hold on a sec. I could probably fix this. I think.
Wait, the log
Actually, you know what?
talks to you?
This would probably be a lot easier if I just deleted her.
Wait, the log
She's the only
in
one
your
who's making this
system
difficult.
files is written out like that.
Yes.
Oh my
And,
god.
No, I legitimately. This is what I'm reading. So she's the only one who's making this difficult. Ah ha ha. Well, here goes nothing.
Yep. And then deletes the character from the game.
Deletes the character.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Well, and then the game is self-aware that to the point of there's a different ending if you're streaming it versus if you're just playing it by yourself.
If you could see my reaction right now, it would be priceless.
Yeah.
As soon as you said that, I was like, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yes, it's ridiculous. Like,
my friend, I could send you right now on the call this file if you would like, and you can read it for yourself. I am not making this up.
I bet.
Yeah, it is like just a really trippy freaking game.
Yeah, it's
like I don't want to play it. I've seen people play it. I do not want to play it.
I need to continue through it for the sake of continuing through it.
Yes.
But I'm not going to record anymore because it's still messed with me.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But anywho, I'm trying to think of other games that
I think PUBG was kind of that way too, where it just kind of came up out of nowhere.
I think there's genres of games that kind of came out of nowhere, and then people are like, "Oh," and then everyone jumps on it and starts doing it. I mean, like the MOBA genre kind of like just came out of nowhere. You know, like someone was like, "Hey, what if we did this?" And then there were just a bunch of them that became very popular. In the same way with like Overwatch, where it's like, "Hey, Overwatch was like an extension of Team Fortress." But Team Fortress, I don't know why it never got as much hype as Overwatch had. Kind of a bummer.
I think it did relative to the amount of people that were playing PC games at the time.
That's true. Yeah, and it's the internet and everything has kind of expanded since then. But like, yeah, like Overwatch was just kind of out of nowhere. I remember playing the beta and just being like, this is kind of cool. And then people are playing it. And then now it's got its own league where, like, you know, different cities and across the United States and across the different parts of the world, I think even, they have their own teams, and it's crazy.
Now, that even started back with like Dota 2.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's like,
and it's just constantly evolving.
Yeah. So I think it's less so about like what game just kind of like happened and then, oh, it wasn't going to be a big thing and now it is. It's a lot of the genres. I mean, like, yeah, like you said with PUBG, the Battle Royale genre became huge. And I think that's why Epic did what they did, because when you look back at older footage of Fortnite, and I think the game still exists in its traditional form and you can buy it, but no one does, because it used to be a game that was like a survival game where you would go out in a squad and you would get materials, and then the storm would come and there'd be like zombie type monsters that you had to defend yourself from by making forts, and it was at nighttime, so it's called Fortnite. Like, that was this kind of play on words, but also like, yeah, so there was supposed to be that, and then PUBG became so popular and they're like, hey, what if we did that but made it like ridiculously crazy and fun, like instead of super realistic, and it just stuck.
Yeah, there's usually just some sort of thing that gets it to click.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can think too, like all the way back to things like Mario Kart. Like Mario Kart was this huge thing because, like, I mean, they had arcade racers and stuff, but now it's like, hey, there's these characters that we know about, and then you got ones like they had a Sonic Racer thing, and well, and then Rare had Diddy Kong Racing, which I'm hoping they come back to eventually. And then on top, then they had like the Kirby Racers, and there was even talk that there was supposed to be a Star Fox Racer game that may or may not still be in the works. We don't know. So there's like all these different kinds of games like that where they're, I'm pretty sure like PlayStation and Xbox did things that were similar, that were like, here's a bunch of our cartoony characters and we're making them in a racing game, and it's just like, well, this is just Mario Kart but done not as well.
I even saw that with something like Smash Brothers.
Oh yeah, there's people. I think people too, like when the Switch came out, they were like, man, we're not waiting for Smash to come out, we're making a Smash game, but not because we can't use the characters licensed, we're just going to use the characters that we can use. So there was one that was called like Brawl Out that used the character from Hyper Light Drifter, like it and they still have games like that.
Yeah, it's just it's a concept that works, and if you put the characters behind it, sometimes that certainly helps. But it's more of just that concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Those picked up. I don't know.
Remember when like the original Smash Brothers came out on N64 out of nowhere, and suddenly was just like it was everything.
It was kind of an oddity of a game, especially since like a lot of, because we were pretty young when it came out, and I remember we were seeing our friends unlock some of these characters, and I'm like, okay, we know who Mario is and we know who Link is and we know, but we were kind of like, even at that point, because we hadn't really played any Super Nintendo and we hadn't really gotten into some of the other great Nintendo games, I remember going back and being like, who the heck is Samus?
Yeah, that's how we discovered some things.
Yeah, like Samus, and then even then, like Ness.
And then
like,
going through the trophies
list. There was only one
list,
game ever in the United States that had Ness in it.
Then you'd go through the trophy list, and we're like, wait, what's all this stuff? And it's said in the trophy, so this is from a game that was released in Japan only. And there was Fire Emblem stuff in there, and at that point, Fire Emblem had never been in the US before. And because of that, people were like, wait, what? What is this game? And Nintendo started bringing Fire Emblem stuff to the US, largely because of people's reaction to stuff in Smash Brothers.
It was just one giant marketing thing that worked out so well, and it's continuing to work well.
Yeah.
Mm.
Whereas with stuff like Fortnite and PUBG, it's just the idea was, let's make this game. Let's make it with this style and do this and do that. And it was different because sure, you have those, battle arena. We have all these MOBAs that are out there, and the market is just saturated with MOBAs.
Mm-hmm.
This was a different take on the MOBA. PUBG was different. I'm sure there are other battle royale ones, but PUBG is the one that took off first.
Well, then, I mean, I guess you could go talk into it to the large map survival games like DayZ.
Well, that's also battle royale.
Exactly, and those kinds of games, and I think those spurred some thoughts in the people who were making PUBG. They're like, hey, like these people are making hyper realistic shooters that are about survival. What if we did that, but it was a shorter time span? So it's kind of like Hunger Games. Where it's like
that's literally how PUBG came to be, because the guy who started it. He I forget what he'd worked on, some other game that I forget what it was, and he's like, "Hey, I want
H1Z1, King of the Kill."
And because H1Z1 and DayZ are literally just battle royale, but there are ambient things trying to kill you, zombies. And he's like, "I want to do this, but I want it to be a hyper realistic military thing and without the zombies." And he's like, "Okay, who can help me with this?" Like, a lot of people don't realize this. The company that makes PUBG, Bluehole, they are just like, if you ever think of a mobile game that's just incredibly exploitative of its fan base, that's like a free mobile game that has tons of microtransactions, That's Bluehole. They are the company that has been making those games for years. They are, by all accounts, like the type of game company that gamers hate, and now they're making one of the most popular games out there, and it's only recently become a mobile game. It started off on PC. It's really weird how that went.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because that's how it worked. Because I remember playing, King of the Kill. I was like, okay, this is taking some getting used to. Then PUBG came out, and PUBG just felt like it did it better.
Yeah.
And then Fortnite came out, and I enjoyed just the play style of Fortnite over PUBG.
Yeah, it's a little bit more party element and less serious. And I mean, they have llamas.
Yeah, you could still get serious with it, but at that point, for me, it was the whole Halo. And I'll continue saying this: it's Halo versus Call of Duty all over again. Because people like the hyper realism of Call of Duty, while others, like the three of us, preferred the fantasy type of Halo.
Yeah, space bubblegum.
Exactly.
Yep. I mean, you can get. Yeah, you can find llamas. You can bounce really high off of tires.
Burgers have tongues. Like what more do you want?
Burgers have tongues. This last week they've been celebrating their birthday, so there's birthday cake all over the place.
Oh, God.
And the Battle Bus music is
like
remix on Happy Birthday.
Yeah, it's so great.
Oh wow.
It's just silliness, and I don't know. There's this. Every once in a while, there's a whole bunch of games that really try to be really serious, and I like when developers come back a little bit. Like I understand, like I enjoy the serious games too. Going through something that deals with some heavy content, and it maybe has some good gameplay to back it up. But like every once in a while, I think there was a panel at some game conference that I remember IGN people were talking about, and I think Max Scoville was on it, and it was just like I think the title of the panel was "Games Are Dumb and That's Okay."
Yeah.
Gore was just like, it's okay that like video games are stupid, and not like that they're unintelligent, but that they're just like they make no sense, and that's kind of a beautiful thing.
Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. All of the stupids.
Oh yeah, the perfect example of that. Or like Serious Sam, or like Duke Nukem.
The opening of the game has a pixel art like reshoot of the opening 5 minutes of Predator 1, with like the two incredibly like steroided out arms like doing their bro fist arm like handshake thing. And the ending of the game, you're riding a blood dragon that it can shoot lasers from its eyes, and at one point it just stops in the middle of the sequence and says to you in like this cyberized voice, "I can shoot lasers from my fucking eyes." It's so out there.
That's beautiful.
I remember the descriptions for the weapons, like it gets to the bow and arrow, and it's like, I know it's a bow and arrow, it's ancient, but guess what? This bow and arrow is neon, and neon is the future.
That's how I distinguish things in the future. They're neon colored.
Yes.
They're neon colored. Oh man. Oh, dang it. Talking about future neon made me think of Cyberpunk 2077.
That game is already huge, and it hasn't even come out yet.
Yep.
No one knows what it's about, but it's gonna be great.
Yeah, no one except for the media could see the demo, but man, everyone's hyped.
If you'd like to know what it's about, there is actually a novel called Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh, if you want even more than that, I haven't watched all of it, but there is a board game.
Oh God.
It's not a board game. It's like
a tabletop role playing.
Yeah. And they did a video on IGN of the creator of the game going through a game with them, and it's like an hour long, and it's just ridiculous.
I gotta look that up.
Like there's so many different attributes that you wouldn't even think of, but because of like the genre that they're in, that there's this. I mean, it's a cyberpunk. You're in a futuristic city. There's cybernetic enhancements. There's all sorts of different things. So like the characters that like people create are just ridiculous. And then the guy who created the game is just funny. He's this large African American man who just like he had this great Barry White voice when he like things would be like he's like, oh yes, that's excellent, to like he had this big voice. It was great. So I highly recommend watching that.
Well, for the time being too, if you want to play like a Cyberpunk 27-esque game that is like a role-playing game, that even though it's not actually the same, it's not first person, probably the closest thing I can think of is actually Shadowrun, the one that's on Steam, not the old first-person shooter from a couple years ago. That's very similar. But I think that's a good place to end our show. We're about an hour for this week. Hopefully we'll be back up to full strength next time around. As usual, and as we say at the beginning and end of our podcast, if you'd like to support us, please visit patreon.com/streamofgaming. We are currently on YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes, hopefully expanding to more in the future, depending on how things go. And yeah, if you want to suggest any kind of topics to us or reach out to us, we are reachable on Twitter at streamofgaming, as well as streamofgaming@gmail.com if you prefer the email variety of communication. As usual, I'm Brent.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm Marcus.
And this has been Stream of Gaming.
Bye.
Bye-bye.